Hey, it's BigNFLFanFreak, and we're here with another sit down. This time the topic is, do we need more football? Yes, I know we get a lot of football throughout the time, but it's actually a pretty big topic if we actually need more or some new football, or kind of the different forms of football that maybe some of you may have not heard of, and whether it should expand more. So, I'm going to start by using the little ones and building it up to the bigger topics. So we're going to talk about international football, the AFL, the AAFL, the EFL, CFL, and many others. I'll tell you all what those are when I get into the topics. The AFL is the Arena Football League. As it is now, Arena Football is now finally being televised, although it's only mostly on NFL Network. You won't find it on your big-time networks like you'll find many of your NFL games. It's a really hard thing to find, especially if you're in a town that doesn't have arena football. Many question, should this be a more televised game? It's basically the exact same as regular football, except the yard lines, the field is only 50 yards long. There's no out-of-bounds lines, although if you get hit into the stands, you're out of bounds, I guess. So a lot of fans get rammed into by players. I guess it's a little bit more exciting. The fans, if they catch a football in the audience, they get to keep it, pretty much like baseball. And the field goal posts are a lot shorter. No kickoffs or touchbacks. All of them are returned. They hit off like a net that they put up, and then all the kicks are returned. The wide receiver must always be in motion. They must motion over and then run right when the ball is hiked. And usually the Arena Football League averages at least over 40 points a game. So it's a high-scoring, high-action, very fun game. I've watched many times. And they're saying, should this be a more televised event? I agree that it should be, but right now it's not one of the more popular sports, but it is growing a lot of interest. Another league, one that just got canceled, was the European Football League. It was televised for a while, but then after its cancellation, was no longer televised, and the European Football League became into, a lot of them went to the NFL, and a lot of them went to the CFL. The European League, some of them are saying, should it come back, or should they do something more to expand it, or will they just keep with the NFL teams? The CFL, the Canadian Football League, which I mentioned, it's pretty much the exact same as NFL football, but a lot of questioning, should the CFL join the NFL and have an American team, like a North American team, like a North American Conference, or just be at least more talked about, because it's one of the least forms of all the other ones I mentioned, of the AFL, EFL, and NFL. CFL is the least talked about of all the football leagues. So should it be more talked about, more shown, in more games? Very rarely do we ever see a Canadian Football League. I can only see like 3. Probably one of the biggest topics is international football. This has been really highly talked about. What kind of international football would be is kind of like having teams from like Japan, Canada, China, Australia, where have you, kind of around the world playing against like the NFL teams. Or maybe having like a all-Japan MVP team against an all-American MVP team to kind of create more big games and see who really has the best athletes in the world. Kind of like a World Cup for soccer, but for football, in a way. And I would mention Olympian football, but we're going to talk about football in the Olympics in another NFL sit-down segment. So stay tuned for that. Wink, wink, hint, hint. Many have considered an extended playoff. They talked about it for college football, but also for NFL football for an extended playoff bracket. One that I kind of thought would work is kind of like how college basketball does it. You have basically except for the NFL, it would be basically you'll have all your teams in an all-or-nothing playoff where you either win, you move on, you lose, you go home. And you'll have the conferences still playing each other, where it'd be like NFC East versus the NFC West, and the AFC would be the exact same. The North would face the South, and the top guys would face the lowest ranking teams in their others' divisions. Like, say, for example, the Texans won the AFC South. They would play whoever was the worst team in the AFC North. Or, if you don't want an AFC-NFC showdown like we were used to in the Super Bowl, what you could do is have maybe a random playoff. Let's say like this. Like maybe where AFC South faces the NFC South. where it's the same concept, best faces the worst. And then each part from the north, south, east, west all get into like a Final Four, like like basketball, and then they all face each other. But then you could be not guaranteed an NFC AFC play. I could be an NFC AFC Super Bowl. It could be an AFC AFC Super Bowl, an NFC NFC Super Bowl. So you would have to use the other playoff where you have NFC side on one and AFC on the other, where they face other divisions in their league, and then at the end they have like a little one-on-one battle, like kind of what they do now, except just more expanded. So it is kind of a big topic. I mean, I haven't really discussed how a playoff bracket would be. I mean, I kind of discussed how I could see one, but whether that's effective or not, I don't know. But really, as far as the sit-down goes, that's pretty much all I had to talk about for should there be more football in the NFL. Like I said, I would have mentioned football in the Olympics, but that's for a later sit-down. So stay tuned for many more sit-downs we'll have coming throughout the months. Keep watching more of my videos. Hope you keep staying tuned, as we'll have more coming at you. So thanks for watching.